What's up, video creators? This is the Video Creator Show, where we break down how people are making money and growing on YouTube. My name is Grant Ball, and I'm the creator and host of the YouTube channel Treesicle, which is closing in on 1 million subscribers. I also run a few other channels as well, one of which I helped build that we'll be talking about today. I'm here with my VidChops co-host, Augie Johnston, who is a former YouTuber himself, and as I said, is the founder of VidChops.com, which is a flat-rate video editing service designed to take the burden of editing totally off your hands. With all that said, let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. So yeah, first things first, let's look at Bonsai Pop. This is a channel with just over 200,000 subscribers that I helped build. I left them about a year ago. It was a mutual decision. I'm currently roommates with one of the guys who runs it. And yeah, so this is a very interesting channel. So the last couple episodes, we talked about really big YouTube channels who are obviously super successful. They're doing a lot of things right. This channel is also doing a lot of things right. But what you have here is two people who are making a very comfortable living. They're essentially living the middle-class dream based off this YouTube channel. And you can see their views are, they're pretty good. They're not millions of views or anything, but a key thing to note about this channel, they cover anime, and they dive deep. They talk about kind of deep issues, whether it's social issues or just sort of psychological, emotional aspects of anime that a lot of super fans can get really into. The host, his name is Mike. He also he tends to open up, talk about himself a bit, and in turn, people they want to be a part of a community. And this channel has a thriving Patreon. They're making, I believe, around $4,000 a month, and you know that's nothing to scoff at. So they have a lot of people who really want to be a part of this community that we've created here. And you can I also wanted to talk a bit about their thumbnail design, just to kind of get the basics out of the way here. You can see it's unique. Like, they have borders around everything. It's got textures. Like, as soon as you see a Bonsai Pop thumbnail, you know that it's Bonsai Pop. They utilize the border very well. So you can see their most recent video, Why You Need to Watch Arcane. It has kind of this 3D look to it. So the main character, Jinx, she's kind of like going off the border a little bit, but the rest of her does not. So it gives this 3D effect that kind of jumps out at you. And this definitely helps to kind of get your eye looking at these thumbnails. And yeah, this is just kind of the general design. They cover kind of obscure anime a lot of the time, but it's kind of a niche. It is maybe not the craziest, super trending stock market, super sexy, whatever parts of YouTube, but an important lesson here is know your niche. You want to find something that you can talk a lot about, something that you really understand deeply that other people also might want to know about. In this case, you have anime. Whether that's like weird movies from the 80s that nobody knows about, or some big trending anime show. You can make a video about it, and some people are going to tune in.
Yeah.
And yeah.
One thing I was going to say about these thumbnails is that they're really, really utilizing the big face feature. So in some of the episodes, we've talked about how mostly, people connect with people. When people see someone looking back at them, it kind of jumps out at them. So as I scroll through here, I'm seeing a lot of big faces. Like, for example, this one that says Tokyo Godfathers. There's a huge face with emotion. And these are all anime characters. So all the ones that are, as I scroll down, that are really popping out to me are the ones like this one that has a face looking at you. This one that has a face looking at me. This one that has a face. This one that has a face. This one has a face. The ones that aren't really popping out to me are like, these ones all have faces right here as I scroll. But one that I noticed that didn't really pop out to me was like this one, Punk Rock Cartoons. Seems like a good video. It got a lot of views. But not like a big face. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and in general, that is a very good strategy for making thumbnails, is just utilizing the human face. We're, as a species, we're trained to just notice faces. That I guess is evolutionarily useful. It's kind of in our DNA to just immediately see a face. So if you use a big face in a thumbnail, it tends to be eye-catching, especially if it has like an emotionally expressive expression, you know.
Yeah, and pretty good growth. I mean, 216,000 subscribers in about 2.5 years. What is the upload schedule on this?
So the upload schedule is very interesting. We used to upload once a week when I was on the team. Recently, this was about a year ago, the people currently running it decided they couldn't quite handle that load anymore. So they decided to upload just whenever. So they have uploaded twice this month, and then they uploaded 3 times last month, and then 3 times the previous month, and then only once the month before. So there's a strategy to this, however. Oh yeah, there's Mike right there. There's a strategy to this. So we've talked a lot about channels that upload a lot. That's part of their strategy. Every day, a few days a week. That's quite an upload schedule. However, for Bonsai Pop right now, what they're doing is you'll notice they have quite a few really long videos. The Insane Story of Dodoro it's like 41 minutes.
Wow.
You have Monster, a retrospective, it's 34 minutes. And the Arcane, the video that Augie's on right now, is more of a normal length video. But in general, what you can do if you don't feel like uploading all the time is you can make a super long video, and it will rack up lots of minutes, assuming people are enjoying it. And it will give it more legs, essentially. Mm-hmm. It gives it more of an ability to shoot off, because there's so many minutes that can be watched within that video that the algorithm may very well fall in love with it.
Definitely. Okay, cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about the monetization strategy here. So what is it?
So they obviously have YouTube ads, and YouTube ads have been sort of unreliable for them. You know, they probably make like a fourth of their income off ads, if even. But their main monetization strategy is through Patreon. So earlier I talked a bit about their community, and people sort of, they appreciate Mike, the host, opening up about kind of how he relates to certain anime, things that he is maybe being vulnerable about, while also giving an interesting take on the show. So people in turn respond to this, and if you scroll down a bit, you can see how much they're making. Yeah, so it's almost $4,000 a month right there. And nice. That's split between 2 people, plus YouTube ads, plus they stream occasionally, and they'll get donations through that. And they'll get like some PayPal donations. They also have sponsorships. So in their most recent video, Why You Need to Watch Arcane, they actually have a HelloFresh sponsorship where Mike dressed up as, well, I mean, he was wearing an apron and nothing else, and talked in an amazing French accent the whole time while cooking a meal. And so, yeah, you got YouTube ads, a Patreon, and sponsorships. And all of these together make a very comfortable living for 2 people. Let me tell you, they're doing well.
Awesome. Yeah, and I this is a really cool type of channel where it's not faceless, but it could be faceless, right? I think him showing his face and stuff helps build the community, you know, build a deeper relationship with your viewers and stuff for sure. But a lot of channels like this, they're faceless, right? They don't show their face. Does he ever like get on camera and actually talk, like with his face showing?
He does sometimes, yeah. Okay. For the most part, it's just him in front of a microphone with no face. But usually in the outro of videos, he'll talk. Kind of just once everything's all wrapped up, he'll pop in and be like, "Hey, what's up? It's Mike. Here I am in the flesh." And it does give it a bit more of a flair. But for the most part, he'll use just a picture of his face and connect to people with his voice.
Cool. So you mentioned that there is a sponsorship on this video. I'm not sure. I'd have to click through it. but at some point I can see he does get on camera and make a joke or something. Looks like right about here he's cooking something.
Yep, that's it. There he is.
Okay, so pretty cool way to do a sponsorship. Just try to make it entertaining. I can appreciate that. And then you'll notice that down here in the description, and normally when I try to look at a channel and see how they're monetizing, a lot of times I'll go straight to the description because that's where they're going to put all the links, right? So here there's the link to HelloFresh. They're tracking using a bit.ly link, so they're tracking how many clicks they're getting. But also I noticed there's some merch, right? So a Teespring shop, and it looks like they have their Teespring shop somehow connected. Do you know how is this able to show these links down here? What's going on there?
So Teespring, if you work with them, will pretty much do this automatically. If you just link it in the description, or you put the Teespring link in the main page of your YouTube channel, like where you have your YouTube banner and there's like these little icons that you can press. If you put your Teespring there, it'll just kind of put it under all of your videos.
Got you. Okay, that's a cool little automatic thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go ahead and pull up the merch. Do you know if they make any sales on the merch?
They do. It's not their main source of revenue or anything, but yeah, they sell some mugs, they sell some shirts, and it's good to have multiple sources of revenue, even if it's not crazy or anything. But yeah, around the holidays they tend to sell more.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, and as their channel grows, right, as soon as they get to 1 million subscribers, 2 million subscribers, the merch becomes a little bit more valuable because it's just a bigger community, and it's just fans wanting the merch at that point because other people are actually buying it. I mean, when you're small, yeah, the views are less and stuff, but it's just the merch doesn't have as much value. So, for example, I know like you mentioned Logan Paul before, like a guy like that, like there's a lot, his merch seems a lot more valuable because it's much more of a brand at that point since he's built up so big. So definitely an easy way to add another revenue stream to your channel. I can see that, or from what I know about Teespring, is it's super easy to set up, right? I mean, you send them some, or you add some graphics, you pick out some shirts you want, or some products that you want, some mugs or whatever, and that's about it. You don't have to touch the product or anything. So cool, totally cool. Maybe I should buy something.
Yeah, I would recommend. The mugs are super nice. The shirts are very comfy. It's good stuff. And yeah, cool. This is also one advantage of being more community based versus just pure ad revenue or just like going full on for views. Mm-hmm. Is when they do come out with a new piece of merch, a lot of their community will buy it. Yeah, this is a big advantage of having a community base versus just going full on trying to get as many views as possible, is you can get a more reliable revenue stream. So when they do come out with a new piece of merch, a lot of people in their community will buy it. And it's just, they're more reliable. When they have a sponsorship, people are more likely to click on the link because they know that whatever Bonsai Pop is putting out, they trust in it because there's this kind of tight-knit aspect of their community where people just want to support them, and totally. Their Patreon does not fluctuate very much. It tends to stay about where it is. And one thing I did want to note about their Patreon, this is an interesting take on like the power of a tight-knit community. So if you go down and you look at all of their tiers, you will see that they have some crazy high tiers. So like $250, $500, $1,000 a month, I believe it goes up to. And they actually do get people who give them that much. And this might seem, okay, 15,000, they added that one. So I don't think they have a 15,000 yet. But the nice thing about having these super high tiers is there are some people in this world who might fall in love with your channel, and they may just happen to have a lot of money. And they just, they don't, they want to help you. They love you. So if you put these tiers there, and you actually have a community to back it up, you might get some success through that. So quite a bit of their Patreon, probably about half, is these big donors, and then the other half is just a lot of smaller ones, so $3 a month and kind of the more middle tiers. And I fully support this strategy, and if people want to give that much, then why shouldn't they?
Yeah, definitely. And I see that these all include Discord benefits. So I'm guessing that they're hopping on Discord and even communicating directly with their fans. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I'd highly recommend is using a Discord server. The two guys who run it are named Mike and Tyler, and they are very active in their Discord server. They pitch it in a good amount of their videos, and the way that you access it is you pay the $3 a month and you can join the community. And the advantage of this is you can talk to everybody else who likes Bonsai Pop. You know, whenever you join a Discord server, you're sort of tapping into the collective consciousness of a YouTube channel. So you can be with like-minded people and chat with them over the internet. You can play video games with them. You know, there's voice channels where you can play Minecraft or whatever game and just kind of hang out with people, post some memes, laugh. They also stream on their Discord server. So they have some tiers in their Patreon where they will have a podcast that they'll record live on Discord. And if you are in the right tier, you can listen to the podcast live and kind of comment and, you know, direct things a little bit, even like they kind of watch the chat. So if you say something relevant, they might say it. Or they might talk about it live. And this is just like a very easy way to build a group of people who love you and love each other and that you can really rely on. And seriously, the people in their Discord are super sweet. It's a very wonderful, happy, supportive place. And it's also funny. There's some good memes that go around here. And I see you're looking at the Social Blade right now. Is there anything that stands out to you here?
Well, I can definitely see that it's just been pretty consistent growth. You know, they've been at, you know, since May of 2019. They had 600,000 views. So they've that's pretty much their average is around, you know, 500,000 views. They had one good month where they had 1 million views in November of 2020. So I'd be curious to see what type of videos they were releasing the month before that and during that month and what their upload schedule was during that time, because there's probably a little bit of some clues there on some video topics that they might want to focus on moving forward. So I'm going to also go back. I'd like to ask you a few questions about their content creation strategy or how they actually create the videos. But first, I want to take a look at that month that it was October and November of 2020. And I'll go ahead and see if there was any specific video topics during that time that really popped, right? So let me just get that shared up. So if I go here to sort their channel, sort their videos by most popular, that was definitely not 2 years ago. So let me see if there's any. See right here, this one 4 months ago, the insane story of Doro Hedoro. So this video right here is 4 months ago. They released it, got 286 views. So if I was going to recommend something to this channel, I would say a follow-up to that would be a good move. This one, anything that was 1 year ago, Golden Boy, the story you never knew. That's probably a good topic. And this, something to note, this Doro Hedoro video 4 months ago, 286,000 views, is 41 minutes long. So the algorithm, a lot of people watched that. They watched it all the way through, or they had, you know, watched a pretty good majority of it. And the algorithm definitely pushed that out to recommend it. What else we got here? I'm just going to randomly click on a video and see what the date is on it. This is from about 1 year ago. October 17th, 2020. Yeah, it looks like they had a stint of some really good video topics during that time where they got that 1 million view month. This Golden Boy video as well. Let me see the date on that one. That one's January, so that came out a little after. But I bet you if I did look through enough of these 1 year ago videos, remember I did sort this by most viewed, that a lot of these popped during that month where they got that 1 million views. So I would just go back. I would categorize all the videos that were in the month before and that month, and I would look at all those video topics and see where I could do follow-ups. So that'd be a good strategy in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah. And that was around the time, I believe, when they switched to the longer videos. You mentioned that one was about 40 minutes
Yeah.
long. And as soon as they started doing that, they did notice quite an influx of views. But then, obviously, after a while, it kind of dipped again. And this speaks to the unreliable nature of YouTube views, especially if you're kind of more, I guess, faceless or whatever, or unless you're just really somebody who loves covering trends and it doesn't bother you to just always be trying to ride the next big wave. They could easily just, oh, what's the most popular anime right now? Make a video, bam, send it out. But they don't like doing that.
Sure.
You want to be able to consistently make videos, and that means you have to like it. So they are really leaning into their kind of retro anime stuff and making sure they enjoy it and that they can make a video when they want to. By leaning on their community and by kind of bolstering their Patreon instead of just relying on trends, when they get those big dips, or it's not even that big of a dip, but when they get a huge month, they're not instantly like, oh well, we can keep getting this many views and trying really hard. You can kind of relax and just slowly build this foundation of people who support you no matter what. And that, in my mind, is a healthy move. You're gonna be a lot happier, believe me. With my other channel, Teresical, we did more the get as many views as humanly possible, and I'm still recovering. It's it's been a journey to get back to normal.
Yeah, I actually can remember with my basketball training channel when the algorithm kind of changed to support or to promote longer videos, and I was like, I can't do that like with this basketball content. And I tried, all of a sudden I was making video, before I was like, okay, here's how to dribble through your legs, and then it was like the algorithm changed, and then my videos were like, here's 45 different ways to dribble through your legs, and so number one, it made it a lot harder on me to create the videos. Number two, the content, I don't think it was better for the community. I don't think they wanted those long videos. I think they wanted more, digestible, shorter videos. So I think keeping the community in mind is important, because for them, like, all of a sudden, if they're just going for views and they are releasing they're going to be releasing the same video topics about the same popular anime every time, and that's maybe not what their community wants, right? So there is a balance there. I saw it in the basketball space where, the crossover video, the ankle breaking crossover video was the one that would always pop. And I created some, and they would do well. They would do well. But then it comes to a point where my fans are like commenting, another crossover video, another one. And it's kind of like, okay, well, at what point do we start creating videos for people and not for the algorithm? So there is that side to it. But yeah, if you're listening to this trying to learn, then definitely you want to know what your best video topics are. You need to know that at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's good to intersperse those big topics with ones that maybe you're more interested in or that your like core fan base wants to see. You kind of want this hybrid of hitting trends that sort of attract a new audience, but then also having this kind of, you could call it, it's like your meaty content. This is kind of a weird way of putting it, but it's the stuff that the people who really are into what you're doing will come back for. You don't really want to appeal to your fair weather fans. You want to appeal to your core audience. That's how you become a stable YouTuber, at least able to live the middle class dream. A lot of people make the mistakes, and we've talked about how each of us has made this mistake where, you try to appeal to the views, and in doing so, you end up appealing to the lowest common denominator and burning yourself out and disappointing your core audience, who would have been able to support you probably if you had just kind of ran the channel a little bit differently. But, lessons learned.
Okay, cool. So, hey, before we move on to the next segment, if you could give us a quick rundown of like the time it takes to create these kind of videos, the process, that would be really interesting, I think, for people.
Sure. So it really depends. Obviously, some videos are like 20 minutes, some are closer to an hour. And the longer it is, the longer it's going to take. But in general, the process is, Mike and Tyler watch a lot of anime. So they just kind of, I mean, I live with Tyler, so he'll just kind of be watching something for, 3 hours a day at least. This may be a little exaggeration, but it's close. So they're just constantly watching new things. They're just kind of on the lookout. They like the medium, so they're just gonna continually consume it. So that's kind of the foundation part of the process, is just always on the lookout for new things. Whether that new thing is super old or not, it could be from the 80s or something. It doesn't have to be brand new, So they watch a lot of anime. The key. Next, they'll have streaming parties with their community, and so they'll say watch a movie with their audience on Discord. And sometimes they kind of like get a feel for it, see what their audience thinks. They chat about it, because sometimes you really like something, but all your fans are like, "This was horrible. Why would you ever talk about this?" Blah blah blah. So that's kind of another thing. Sometimes they'll run it through their audience. But then, essentially, if they really like something, they'll end up covering it, and usually they're on the same page with their audience. Then what they do is they'll write a script. So either Mike or Tyler will write a script, and then Mike, as the one who hosts the videos and is the one speaking into the microphone, he always has sort of the final say. He'll always edit things if Tyler writes, and just make sure that it's true to his voice, that he agrees with everything. And that's the writing process, essentially, is they'll find something to talk about, write it down. Mike will make sure that it's that he's comfortable saying whatever it is, and they'll also it depends how new a show is too. So their Arcane video, they'll be careful not to put any spoilers in it.
Yeah.
And some people are okay with putting out spoilers as long as you give a warning, but they tend to try to shy away from that. It's just kind of what they do. I think it's important to be consistent with your brand. If you're the channel that doesn't spoil new shows, then you should probably keep being the channel that doesn't spoil new shows, unless you really just decide to totally change. But whatever you decide to do, be consistent. So that's kind of their writing process, is just find new shows, constantly be watching new shows, and find something interesting to write about. And they'll write it. Mike will host it. And if they have a sponsor, that sponsor will kind of determine when they release the video. So sometimes they can kind of just, sit around for 2 weeks and it doesn't really matter. They just kind of interact with their audience and slowly work on a script. Sometimes it's when you're writing something and it's very complex, the idea you're trying to convey, and it's a 40-minute video, it's actually very helpful to kind of just not think about it for a couple days, and you'll kind of just be in the shower and get an idea. And all of a sudden, oh, that's how I connect to this idea with that one. And then, so these longer videos, you can imagine, they stew on them a bit longer. Whereas the shorter videos, they can bang out more so.
Okay. And so they source all the clips. How do they source all the clips?
They just use them. They're able to either download them from Netflix or from YouTube, or it's all fair use. So
Right.
One important thing to note is that you're allowed to use clips as long as they're not over 8 seconds, I believe. So you want to consistently be cutting to make sure you're not showing anything longer than 8 seconds. You always want to cut to something new during that time. And yeah, this is totally fair use within YouTube. And this is a big reason too why they don't do spoilers for new shows, is they do use clips from the shows, and they don't want people to feel like they could watch their video and not have to watch the show. They want to make sure that they're working with the creators of the show,
promoting it, basically. Yeah, they're essentially promoting it in a way. Okay, so they write the script, they record the voiceover, source all the clips, throw it all into what software do they use to edit?
They use Adobe Premiere.
Okay, very nice. Do they use any After Effects stuff or anything?
Yeah, they do use After Effects specifically for transitions or cool text effects. We actually have we share an Adobe account, so they use a lot of Mr. Horse plugins, which are good for like text transitions and kind of if you have some picture you want to show on the screen, it can kind of like swirl in real smooth like and look very professional. So it's usually for little things, they're not like doing these crazy After Effects things, but it adds a lot if you can just have those like smooth transitions and get an image on screen without it just kind of like moving. It's very smooth in its movements. It looks great.
Cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, that gives me an idea. And I'm guessing they create their own thumbnails and titles and all that too?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so sometimes they'll like to get those faces. They'll take a screenshot from like a section of the show, or they can just kind of find it on Google Images and make sure it's a big thing is if you are going to look at Google Images for like to source content, you want to make sure that it's not like a DeviantArt or some kind of basically you want to make sure it's fair use. Some people have made that mistake. I've seen entire YouTube channels falter because they used the wrong art on many videos. Do not do that. You can actually sort in Google. So yeah, it's important to keep that in mind.
Definitely. And I mean, let's just be honest. The YouTube, the internet in itself is a little bit of the wild, wild west. So you can get away with a lot. But you didn't hear that from me because I know like for my basketball channel, we used to use NBA players on our thumbnails, we would stuff like that. And I had a friend tell me, hey, just be careful. We got a cease and desist on all of our thumbnails because he was a football guy using NFL players. And I was like, oh, okay. So at that point, I kind of started to lean away. And also, too, because it's really clickbait, right? When you see a picture of, LeBron James on the thumbnail and it's like the title is how to shoot a jump shot like LeBron James. And then you click on it and it's just this white guy. It's me telling you, you're like, wait a second, that might hurt you on YouTube as well. If someone clicks on that expecting to see LeBron, they don't, and they click away. So you got to be careful on multiple fronts when it comes to that.
Totally. Yeah. You do want people to expect what you're actually delivering. Yep. Otherwise, they'll just click off, and the algorithm won't like you if they do that.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the basics of Bonsai Pop, how they make money. And I do want to mention they have a G Fuel sponsorship, I believe, that is it's at least 6 months. So this one is like it's not just one pitch in a video. So if you can do this, it's very helpful for you. You kind of can sit back and relax for 6 months to a year, depending on how long your sponsorship is. So they pitch it occasionally. They just need to get a certain number of sales a month. And as long as they're releasing enough and talking about it enough, they will make that money. And it's consistent money that they get from a big company. So props to them.
Very nice. Cool. All right. Do you want to move into to kind of the next closing segments?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's do it. I'll go first. Let's talk a little bit about some new YouTube channel ideas and maybe even one tip on how to grow on YouTube. So the channel idea that I have, I don't know if it's so much of an idea of a channel, but it's kind of the way to create your content. And I've seen this before, and it's pretty cool. It's through whiteboard animation. So you could do real whiteboard animation where you literally have a whiteboard and a camera in a hand drawing different things, erasing it, drawing different things, erasing it. But there's so many apps out there. One's called Doodly. So I think if you go to doodly.com, and I see you're familiar with that. So you could create an entire channel where you just tell life stories and use whiteboard animation to kind of animate it. That would be another faceless channel in a way. Or you could teach whatever you want to teach, right? Let's say you want to teach how to do your taxes and your accountant stuff on YouTube. Pretty dry topic, but you could use whiteboard animation to create all your videos. And so that's just an entertaining way to create content. You could use voiceovers to do it, and that is my channel idea for today. How about you? Got anything?
I mean, a super easy one is always just if you're someone who's tuned into the news, you like knowing what's going on in society and you got a lot of opinions, you can just record yourself talking to a camera about any big news story, really. I mean, there's some big channels that succeed at this very well. One is Philip DeFranco, and he's a pretty OG YouTuber.
Yeah.
He's been around for at least 10 years. And so, yeah, you can just kind of hit record, say what you feel, and obviously make sure you fact check yourself and you know what you're actually talking about. But as long as you do a little bit of research and you're able to pump out videos quickly after a story happens, you may very well be the next big news source out here in the Wild West.
Yeah, I keep thinking about YouTube channel ideas that are kind of news-based, because one of the hardest things, right, with YouTube is coming up with the new ideas. You know, the new idea for the next video is hard. But when you just got to react to the news every day, there's plenty of ideas that are flying at you constantly. And, you know, from what I've seen, when it comes to creating those kind of like news channels or just really opinion-based channels, the more polarizing you are, the better. Meaning, if you take one side and really go hard with that side, then you're going to attract a lot of people that kind of fit with that side as well. And of course, you're going to turn off and push away everybody that doesn't, but that's actually okay. And so, yeah, I think that if you are going to start a channel like that, you might want to consider doing that. I mean, being unbiased is great, and everybody loves people that are unbiased and stuff. But when it comes to actually growing on YouTube and stuff, I don't think that's really the best strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say when it comes to being unbiased, you want to be reasonable, but also acknowledge that you're a human. That means you can have opinions. You're going to be biased at least a little bit. And Philip DeFranco, I think, does this pretty well, where he'll separate the facts from, this is what I think. And it's very obvious when he's editorializing versus when he's just, this is what happened, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And if you're able to differentiate, I think people will appreciate that, especially, you know, as cameras get deeper and deeper into our lives, as people are sharing more and more, I'm finding that people appreciate honesty and vulnerability and all of these things. So if you can actually just be honest about, yeah, this is my opinion, but these are the facts, and also do a good job of saying the facts and not kind of like omitting things that maybe don't match your narrative, versus like, as long as you're giving the full story and then giving your take, then I think that's okay, and people will respect that. And yes, as you said, it will also help with growing, because you will have strong stances on things that hopefully are reasonable and that people needed to hear.
Sounds good. All right. Let's go ahead and finish it up. I'll drop one YouTube tip, and then I'll let you close it out, Grant. My YouTube tip of the day is audio. Okay, how do you get good sounding audio? Well, here's a few things. External mics. Okay, so you want to use an external mic. We both are using external mics right here. I have a Blue Yeti, and Grant, you also have another Yeti microphone of some sort, correct? What's the name of it?
It's called a Bluebird, so same brand, but it's a Bluebird.
It's a Bluebird, all right. And so there's all kinds of different kinds of external microphones. You know, depending on what camera you're using, you might want to use like a Rode video mic. There's different shotgun mics are the kinds that sit right on top of your camera. Lavalier mics are the ones that hook onto you. Those are always good if you're going to be like really far away from the camera. Use a lav mic. Or maybe, those are pretty much all the mics. Now, if you are just going to record without an external mic, or maybe you're using your iPhone and you don't have an external mic, that's okay too, but just make sure that you're close to the camera, meaning don't be super far away in the room. You actually got to kind of crowd the camera, which maybe is not ideal for what you're doing, but honestly, it's worth it to get that good audio, because you can get good audio with an iPhone with no mic, but you got to be close. So that's my tip for the day.
Great. Yeah, my tip is, I think everybody has something that they think about without putting any effort in. Their mind, when it wanders, it goes to a certain topic. And it could be as obscure as, I don't know, church organs, that kind of churchy music. I've worked with a guy who wanted to make a YouTube channel based around that. And whatever your passion is, and if you are looking to start a channel, which if you're listening to this, you probably are, then I would recommend finding a way to talk about that consistently, because in having this passion about a subject, there's a very good chance that you know a lot more about that thing than most people do. And, if you're going to release consistent content on something, you should know more than the average Joe. So for me, that was kind of video games. Like, I played a lot growing up. I play a good amount now. And it was just kind of like an easy, natural thing to talk about video games and make a channel out of it. So if you can find that thing that you just love and find fascinating through no effort of your own, figure out a way to talk about it on YouTube. And also be careful, don't burn yourself out. My love of video games was definitely tested by going full-time YouTube. But yes, if you can capitalize on your passions, then you will do well. You will do a lot better than if you don't.
Very nice. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
All right, that's all we got for today. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please make sure to leave a 5-star review on iTunes, as we read every single one of those. And also, definitely hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube to join the video creator community. Thanks for checking out today's episode, and we'll see you in the next one.